Good evening. This is Wellspring Wednesday on March 6th, and we're here to talk about hidden hunger. My name's Anna Newton. I'm with the Act for the Earth team, and Barb Rogney is here with the Evergreen Quilters, and we're doing this program together. So this is still a little bit too tall. We're going to light the chalice, and if I advance this, you can read this with me. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love. Thanks, Barb. So for Act for the Earth, we have a mission statement. Our mission is to engage the Church-Unitarian community to act to stop climate change, species extinction, and environmental injustice by practical and systemic solutions while grounding this work in our own spiritual and anti-racist justice stance. And this slide will come up again at the end, but it is just an overview of what we're doing in the next month and a half. One thing I will point out, there's several of us that are going to the Land Stewardship Project breakfast and lobby day tomorrow, and Saturday is a climate action gathering here at the church in the morning, and there will be coffee. So just point those two things out. And then Evergreen Quilters, who make beautiful quilts, but they also have a mission of their own. So I'm going to let Barb talk. No, you have to advance it. Oh, you hit the arrow.
Oh, okay.
So, and then just get real close.
Well, I put all our information on a PowerPoint, so I do want to point out, though, we've been donating to Hallie Q. Brown since 2016, and we've been helping food shelves out since the late 1980s. And 100% of all the money we make when we have our sales here and our big raffle every couple of years, all the money goes to 3 local charities besides Hallie Q. Brown, its Project Home, and the Jeremiah program. So our raffle quilt sale is coming up in April, so you can watch for that. And there'll be a lot of other original quilts for sale here. We do that each spring, and December have a small item sale. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, just jump in anytime. We got a number of people that help deliver the food each week to Hallie Q. Brown. And here's what we've donated over the last few years. So I asked Barbara Hubbard, I think probably everyone's a member of church here, to look up what we've donated and raised for Hallie Q. Brown. Oh, and she came back with these statistics. So from the last 8 years, we have from Sunday collections, you can see the amount, $10,765. And the quilters from our sales have donated $11,202.84. So, yeah. So, I'm pretty impressed with that. And that also means that we gave that same amount, the $11,000, to Project Home and the Jeremiah program. So our fingers have been very busy sewing away. But like to thank everybody for their support over all the years, and thank you very much. Oh, there's something missing. Oh, okay.
Got it.
Yep.
I can say I bought a little bowl warmer that you put the bowl into the microwave with, and I use it almost every morning to cook my oatmeal, and it is fabulous. I love it. That was last December. So a little reflection. These words will probably be familiar with you, to you. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these brethren, you did for me. These are the words of Jesus in the New Testament. And I believe they're intended to help us practice compassion for our neighbors. And I find that religious traditions around the world value that compassion and that duty. Doesn't matter if they're Christian or Buddhist or Hindu or Jewish or Islam or whatever. Food and the rituals around sharing of food are recognized as a basic human right. In traditional Ojibwa culture, a young hunter, upon making his first kill, offers the first meat to the elders and may himself not even eat any of his kill that he has provided for the community. So to get ready for this evening, I dug into a book that I first read when I was out of college and living on my own. And it's a book that introduced to me the idea of meat-free eating. And I confess that at the time, I just used the recipe parts of it. The book is Diet for a Small Planet, and it was written by Frances Moore LePay and published, the original publishing date was 1971. It must be said, however, that she was not really trying to convert everyone into a vegetarian lifestyle. What she was really about was concern about hunger. The experts, quote unquote, have promoted industrial farming as a solution. The thought was that if we just increased the supply, we would solve the problem of hunger. Well, that hasn't happened. Even as we have transformed even more land into corn and soybeans, it just hasn't eliminated the hunger. In 71, Frances Moore LePay showed us that it wasn't a food supply problem, it was actually a food distribution problem. And she, at that time, said that it was hunger was a human-caused thing. That was 50 years ago. Diet for a Small Planet. It's an oldie but a goodie, and there's much been written since then. She revised this several times for the 20th anniversary in 1991. She connected our food system with ecological destruction, including climate change, and with decimated rural communities and rural economies. She also called out challenges to democracy. Does this sound familiar? That was 30 years ago. So just a heads up, we will be exploring farm connections next month on April 3rd, and we invite you to come back then. Tonight, however, we gathered here to examine hunger and to consider why it persists. Was Frances Moore LePay right that hunger is human caused? What about our food system needs to change? Where do we begin? To help us in this task, we have invited three wonderful speakers who are here to my right to share what they know. Carissa Dillon is with Ramsey County, and she has done an absolutely jaw-dropping analysis of where hunger is and why it is where it is, that she'll tell us a lot about, and also what Ramsey County is doing to curb hunger. Angie Goettl is Assistant Director with Hallie Q. Brown, so the organization that Barb was talking about. And Julia McCarthy is with Keystone. And I will point out that both Hallie Q. Brown and Keystone are more than food shelves. They have a huge program for youth development and meeting people's needs on so many levels, but we'll be focusing mostly on the food connection tonight. But they will give us the boots on the ground local perspective. And with that, let me advance this a second. This is our fifth in the series about food, our food conversations. Food is universal. We view it as a lens through which to view our relationship with the earth and with each other. And that part. So we'll be looking at Ramsey County, and then we look at the local perspective, and then there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers. And with that, I will pass it to Carissa. Should I let you advance the slide? Okay, thanks.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Thanks for having me tonight. Well, oh, I did it. Hooray. So I'm Carissa. I am the food security coordinator for Ramsey County. I think I'm closer. I think I'm the only food security coordinator at a government system in the entire state. So Ramsey County is doing some kind of innovative leading edge work. And I feel very privileged that I'm able to be moving this work forward. So my past, I was chronic disease prevention. So I do a lot of work on the linking of food insecurity and the foods you eat to chronic disease and, quality of life. Yeah, and so I'm just going to go a little bit over kind of the background of what I've done at the county, or what my team has done at the county, and then kind of talk a little bit about the history and what the county is doing to move forward. All right. Food is a basic need. Everyone needs food to survive. It's one of the most basic fundamental needs that we have as a human. And it is food insecurity, just in general, is a condition of limited access to healthy, culturally connected, and medically appropriate food to support an active and healthy lifestyle. It's really hard to measure hunger and food insecurity because there's so much stigma and shame associated with it. Also, it becomes part of a culture. So if you think of college students, it's become very normalized to laugh about eating ramen as a college student. But typically that's because you don't have enough money and you might actually be food insecure and you're stretching every dollar. And it's getting worse right now at the edge of COVID and kind of inflation. So, the most basic need we have is at the bottom of the red triangle, and that's like food and housing and shelter. And when your basic needs aren't met, people make really hard decisions. Parents skip meals to feed their kids. You decide to not go to the doctor. You might not be buying the types of food you need to buy to control your diabetes or cardiovascular disease. And so there's a lot of tension and hard decisions that families have to make. So I always like to set that. It's really difficult to measure. And so I'll talk a little bit about what we did as a county to start really talking about it differently, and hopefully start to see some solutions that were community driven. And then also, I'll just say really quickly that when people don't have enough food with these hard decisions, sometimes there's more interactions with the justice system, less community resiliency. There might be increased violence and crime. And then also it might impact housing stability, as well as it might not allow people to move upward out of poverty. So there's been a lot of links there too. So we did this big assessment. You can look at it online, but I just want to show that we have a lot of data to talk about local Ramsey County and St. Paul data on food insecurity. And I'll kind of go through it in the next couple of slides. Overall, Ramsey County has food insecurity rates that are higher than the state average. And we're estimating about 60,000 residents were food insecure in 2021. And then 20% of children, so 1 in 5 children, are considered food insecure. And this was a measure back in 2021. And we'll just say at that point, there was a lot of extra things happening, government benefits and such, to deal with COVID. So it was probably, this estimate was probably really low compared to what it is now. Another thing we realized is that since it's so hard to measure, we had to find kind of proxy measures or ways to sort of identify it, because not everyone, if you say, are you food insecure? Are you hungry? Most people say, no, I was eating mac and cheese all week, or stretching what they have. Or, you make do with what you have. So we started to look at other measures, because people tend to not answer that if there's not trust in the relationship and such. And so we started to look at who's using SNAP, which is food stamps, and we started to see these huge racial divides in who's accessing SNAP. In Ramsey County, 43% of all African Americans in Ramsey County are on SNAP. So when federal benefits change, when there's a decrease, when there's potentially elections or decisions made at the federal government, who's going to hurt the most if they decrease SNAP benefits or push people off SNAP? 30% of all of our Asian residents and then 20% of our Native residents are on SNAP too. And that's compared to 5% of white residents. So it's just that when we started to analyze it, we were sort of shocked because we never looked at this in this way before. So it starts to paint a picture of who's actually really hungry. Some of our data that we've also found was food insecurity is growing among our seniors extremely fast. And then we have a lot of specific communities that need more support or tailored messaging to try to help match them with resources. And then our food shelf partners like Hallie Q and Keystone and all the other great food shelves that are working in Ramsey County have been saying there's at least 30 to 50% increased demand since COVID. And then SNAP is great, and we want people on SNAP, but it's supplemental. It doesn't solve everything. People still have to make hard decisions on SNAP. Sometimes your benefits only like $23 for the month, and that, you know, how much food is right now. So COVID era benefits like unemployment, the eviction moratorium, the student loans pause, all the different things that happened has ended. And so we're seeing higher and higher demands at our food shelves now, and inflation. So everything's getting more expensive. As you probably see that every time you go to the grocery store, it's quite expensive. And so people are making really hard decisions right now. And then when I was looking at the data, I like maps because I like to see it. I like visuals. I wish I had a pointer. This is Ramsey County. Oh.
The red guy.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna bring my cat toy pointer, but I forgot. So this is all of Ramsey County. This is the river downtown. And then you'll see kind of the downtown area. And as you go out, you can see kind of the suburban areas. The darker purple compared to lighter purple is gradations of percent minority in the county. The red boxes are the percent of food insecure. I know you can't see it, so I'm gonna zoom in on St. Paul. So you can see, again, here's the river, downtown St. Paul is right here. This is like I-94, so you're, I think, like right here, maybe. I need to look. But you'll see some of these red boxes, and when we started to look at census tract data, that 25% of all residents in that census tract are food insecure, so 1 in 4. So think of the kids living in those houses or the seniors. And then some of the suburban northern parts, it's low as 8%. So why is it that food insecurity is so much higher in St. Paul? And so when I was looking at this map, it reminded me of a different map. Does everyone know what redlining is? Yeah. So that's great because a lot of people don't. So this is a redlining map from 1934. If you don't know, it's banks, mortgages, financial institutions that would not offer loans to people living in areas, that were redlined. So you'll see here, these were considered hazardous areas. And again, we see the river in downtown St. Paul. And so redlining was outlawed in 1968. We still have issues with it now, though. There's still lawsuits across the nation. But we still see 85 years later from when that map was made, and 55 years since it was outlawed, the effects of redlining. So here's the redlining areas of St. Paul, and you'll see some of them are the 25% food insecure. So I'm not saying redlining caused food insecurity, but a lot of this information is very similar to disease outcomes, lifespan, other health issues, asthma rates. And that's because there's a systems issue, racist policies, other things that have been around for a really long time, generations ago, then they're still seeing ill effects from it now. So why I like to bring this up in this is because maps are powerful, but also it takes the blame off individuals. It's not people don't want to be food insecure. They want to thrive and be healthy and have healthy families, but there's a system still in place from years ago that are still making it difficult to thrive and move upward out of poverty. So why I bring this up is that it's a systems issue, and so we're hoping to come up with system solutions. So as a county, I really wanted to make sure our solutions were community-driven and system-wide. And so this is kind of our strategic plan that was just released in I guess the last week of December, so 2023, but it's our 24-25 food security strategic plan, very aligned with our resiliency and climate health work. But we really wanted to have some simple priorities and areas that we were going to work in to try to address food insecurity. So one of the areas is supporting the food safety net. So that's like the food shelves, food banks, meal programs, those kind of subsidized meal programs and also. But we're hoping to help support to increase cultural, fresh, and healthy food options at those distribution sites, as well as hoping to support the flexibility to meet community needs. Because if you're working and your local food shelf closes at 5, but you don't get off work until 5, how are you going to get there? So how do we respond and meet people where they're at? This has a lot more than that. I won't go into it too much, but some of it is going up to the legislature. We're passing we're pushing pressure at the legislature. We're going to DC to advocate because that stuff affects us too here locally. And then also, how do we do food rescue to get that food that could be, instead of getting it thrown away and it's perfectly fine, back to feeding people. So that's kind of this area. Another big thing that community wants us to do is to help increase access to public benefits. So getting people on SNAP, getting them workforce solutions, trying to get them some employment help, maybe get them on WIC, because any housing support, because any benefit is going to stretch that dollar. So we have a lot of stuff going in the county to try to, if people are on medical assistance and they're pregnant or have children under 5, they're automatically eligible for WIC. And we're trying to make sure people that are on MA, pregnant, or have children under 5 are enrolled in WIC, which is another food program. So that's another area. And then we're also trying to do more food insecurity screenings at the county. So if they're walking in the door, we can screen them and help support them to meet their immediate needs. One program is something that my intern Mariah is leading, is working with our libraries, is that they're seeing a lot of increased needs too. So how do we help meet those immediate needs and get them connected to longer term benefits? Something that's relevant for next month is we're also working on urban agriculture, because how do we get food more local, food sovereignty, food justice? How do we access land and make it so that people can start growing food? Because even if you only have a small plot of land, you might be able to grow herbs to make your food more palatable, especially that culturally appropriate foods. Maybe at the food shelf, you don't get as many things as you want, but maybe you can add some spices that you're growing yourself to make your food, taste better. So that's a big part, is putting pressure on the city and the county to open up land. And then also making it easier so everyone can understand how to grow if they don't know how, and test soil, things like that. Another part is expanding subsidy programs. So there's market bucks. So anyone on SNAP gets market bucks in the summer and they can go to the farmer's market, like a 2-for-1, something. It's these cool programs, they just haven't been as promoted as we they should have been, or maybe they've tried and haven't reached the right people. Fair for All are also like cheaper food packages that get distributed. And then also trying to advocate at the legislature. And then really the other part for this one is North Minneapolis's grocery store closed. And so that, I guess we were already doing it, but it's like, this is something we need to have access as we've developed all these maps to show where all the food access points are. So if there's a threat to something, a grocery store closing, we can respond and educate the elected officials. So we have a lot. I don't need to go through all this, but there's a lot going on at the county to support addressing food insecurity. Some of our strategic priorities, there's 2 that mention food insecurity and trying to improve food security in general. But we also have things like our solid waste management plan. And what's that have to do with it? But it really, that has to do with food rescue and kind of getting access to land. So there's a lot of stuff happening at the county, which I'm very excited about. We're trying to work with all of our cities, so St. Paul, but also Maplewood and all the other municipalities to help encourage this. Oops. And then I always like to say at the end is, you know, we can talk about it again, but there are things you can do to help, and we can circle back later on. But, you know, give locally to your food shelf and try to talk to elected officials. Those are always the things I say is the first thing, but we can talk more later. And then there's some more information if you want to sign up for a listserv or get some of, if you're really interested in this and you want more data, let me know. I can send stuff to you. And then we also have a couple of maps and listings on our website for people if you know anyone that might be needing support. And that's it for now. And I'm going to pass it over to Angie.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Thank you so much. My name is Angie Goettl, and I'm the Assistant Executive Director at Hallie Q. Brown. And I know you guys have been helping us for so long, and I wanted to say thank you. Really, we really appreciate it. But I also wanted to let you know a little bit more about who we are and who are the people that you guys have generously helped without even knowing who you have been helping. So Hallie Q. Brown was founded in 1929 as a settlement house. It was a private nonprofit social service agency. And it was mainly founded to support African American community that had been denied access to other services. With that being said, it was in the Summit University and the Twin Cities metro area. The center has evolved now from an independent human service provider to a multi-service hub center. We are administrative body of the Martin Luther King Center, coordinating and housing several other agencies offering specialized services and programs. So we not only provide basic needs, which is our food shelf and our clothing closet. We have education. We have resource, a social worker that works with our participants. We have senior programming. So that is all in just around in your neighborhood, and it's all in the Hallie Q. Brown Community Center. We, those are the 6 core areas: early childhood education, youth enrichment, basic needs, seniors. We have a brand new archive program, and we are very, very lucky. We have the only African American archivist in this country. So you guys have met her. She is wonderful, and she is so young. But the amazing things that she had found about Hallie Q. Brown, about our community and our neighborhood are just amazing. This summer, she is doing actually a display at Hallie Q. Brown. So we'll send information for all of you to come and participate, because it's just been amazing to be able to share all the stories that so many of our elders and our community people and our neighbors have lived through and have saved, and now to be able to share with everybody in St. Paul is wonderful. This is our mission. And, you know, Our mission really is to improve the quality of life in our community for everybody. We want to make sure that we provide access to critical human services, fostering and promoting African American heritage, personal growth, health sufficiency, and self-determination. I think one of the biggest things that we want to make sure that we understand is that 90% of our students in our community are African American children. As you saw on the map that was just shared with us, that those are our people, those are our community. That is who we serve. We are open to everyone, but the majority of our families are African American with young children. And that is who we are trying to feed, we are trying to educate, and we're trying to just give them different options, opportunities for them to have a better life. Hallie Quinn Brown was the wonderful person that we took the name of, wonderful educator. But this is who she was. And because of all her effort, and it's basically our mission to continue with what she's worked and what she wanted for the community around us. These are all of our program areas. We are very, very fortunate to have early childhood education, where we have kids. We provide care for children from ages 6 weeks old all the way to 11 years old. We have a teen center, which offers homework help or a place for them to come in and get tutors. We are looking at to this summer offering some of our middle school and high school students just opportunities for them to work on their SATs, to start thinking about driver's ed, to start helping them with college enrollment and registrations and so forth. If we offer all these programs, what we're hoping is that they can see themselves as actually going to school, whether it is for a trade school, a certificate, or even just how to apply for a job. We want to make sure that we have all these opportunities at Hallie Q. Brown for our community. And this is our food shelf. I have to, this is one of my pride and joys. I think working with Althea, and I don't know if any of you know Althea. Althea is our food shelf coordinator who has been with us for 10 years. She knows our participants like no other. She takes the time to listen to them. It's pretty much like a request every time that they call in to place their food order. And they say, don't forget, I don't need canned goods. I just like frozen. And she's like, I already ordered it. Or I don't like Hunt's ketchup. I want Heinz, And Althea's philosophy is that food is who you are. And food really, when you get what you are asking or what you're used to getting, what's normal for you, it's your comfort and it makes you successful. It makes you happy and it makes you feel valued. So that is the best thing about Hallie Q. Brown is Althea in our food shelf. She takes the time with everybody. We have times when she goes on vacation and our participants will say, I know she told me she was going to be on vacation, but who else can I talk to? Because she's not here. And we're like, we have plenty of people, but it's Althea. They believe in, I've even placed their orders and we bag their food based on what they requested. And if Althea's not there, they literally go through every item with me and make sure that I did what Althea would have done for them. So it's one of those things that we take pride on. We do an online order form for all of our participants. So then they get to pick what they want. And that is what we try to give them. That's how she places the orders. That's how we order food based on what our customers, our participants are requiring and requesting. Our food shelf also, we partner with DoorDash and they do food deliveries. A lot of the food deliveries are for seniors or people that have no transportation. But again, it is a benefit for a lot of our families. In the summers, we have the free farmers market. So that is Monday through Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. And it's fresh produce for everybody in the community. They don't have to register. All they need to do is just come in and take what they want. So that is open and available for everybody. For Thanksgiving last year, we were fortunate enough to partner with The Wild right here, and and Jenny O, and we received 800 turkeys, which means that we provided 800 families in St. Paul with turkeys. So we were very, very fortunate. We are very, very lucky to have so many partners that think of us and are always willing to help us and give. For Christmas, we do what we call our Hallie's Toy Shop. And it is one of the things that I think for our community, we have partnered with St. Paul Promise Neighborhood. We have partnered with our local schools, our neighborhood schools, and we register all the students or the majority of the students that would like to register. This year, we provided toys for almost 1,800 kids. With that being said, what we do with Hallie's Toy Shop is we provide every child with a small toy, a big toy, and a medium toy. So every child gets 3 toys. They get stocking stuffers, they get a stuffed animal, they get a game board, and they get a blanket. Every child gets that, and that is us because of the community and people like you that are always willing to help. So we can provide that. The kids and the families register, they fill out what the kids like, and we have volunteers that come in and shop for those toys. So they have a list of what the kids have requested, and they'll try to go through all the toys and get, a Barbie, or they want Pokemon cards or whatever. So we try to put that individually for all the kids in St. Paul. So we're very, very lucky. We have a lot of volunteering opportunities. We are a small organization. So we do offer a lot of volunteering from gardening with the kids. We have our garden in the early childhood education program where we grow peppers and cherry tomatoes and greens, and the kids actually harvest it, and then they always take it, as they call our food shelf, the little store. So then they take it to the little store, and then our participants and even the children get to go in and shop and take it home with them. So that's pretty much all for me.
I'm a little taller than you, Angie. Okay.
Are you?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name's Julia McCarthy. I'm Director of Programs with Keystone Community Services. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for being here. I think, maybe you'll both agree that when you do this kind of work and you're faced with the scale of food insecurity and the needs that people have every day, sometimes you feel like you're on your own trying to fight these huge issues. So it's great to know that people are interested. Our donors and our volunteers remind us of that every day. And that really keeps our staff going. So thank you for caring. All right. Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Keystone, particularly how we address food insecurity and hunger. So Keystone is a nonprofit. We've been around since 1939. We've merged with different organizations over the years and changed names at some point. But we do a few different things. Our mission is to strengthen the capacity of individuals and families to improve their quality of life. We do that through 4 different programs. So my role is to oversee all of our direct service work in the community. And that happens in 4 different program areas. So our youth services, we have 2 free after-school programs, a teen employment program, a teen tech center, and a bike shop. So a little plug just down the street. If anyone has a bike or needs their bike serviced or needs a new bike, Express Bike Shop for you. We have youth apprentices who work there, and then all the proceeds from the business go back into our youth programs. We have senior services. I'll talk a little bit more about Meals on Wheels, but we also do community-based case management services there. We have active senior programs like fitness and cards and pickleball and bingo and all kinds of things. We do a case management, so we contract with Hennepin and Ramsey counties and Medica to do case management for people on particular types of medical assistance. And then we have our basic needs program, which I will talk a lot about in just a moment. So a little bit about hunger. So, we've talked about hunger and food insecurity as doesn't mean, I addressed a high school class not long ago. I said, it doesn't mean you're starving. If you have food insecurity, it means you don't always have enough access to enough food. And that's what people in our community face. And the title for this event is pretty apt because you can't always see it, right? So a lot of the people we serve have homes, they have jobs, they have cars, not everyone, but some people do, and they don't all look the same. They don't all have the same experience. So what we try and do at Keystone is adapt our services to serve people in the way that they need as best we can. So one of those ways is our Meals on Wheels program. So you might be familiar with Meals on Wheels. It's a national program that is administered by a lot of local agencies. So we are one of the providers for St. Paul. So what that means is people who can't prepare their own food, have a lot of health issues. Some people who maybe can't get out of the house to get groceries can get meals delivered to them, either hot or frozen, up to 5 days a week. And we use volunteers as our drivers and delivery people. So the food actually is made by a caterer at Open Arms is the name of the organization. And then they provide the meals for all the organizations that do Meals on Wheels in the metro area. So Meals on Wheels is a little unique in how long people are on it. So it tends to be a long time. Meals on Wheels can get paid for by health insurance in many cases, and it's something that people really need. Sometimes it's the only meal they eat that day, so it's pretty important. And part of the philosophy of using our volunteer drivers and having staff with skill in things like mental health and elder care issues is that we call it more than a meal. So someone is checking in on people every time they deliver. They get to know the participants that they're helping, and they can alert our staff if something doesn't seem right. Yeah. So Meals on Wheels comes out of our West 7th Community Center. All right. So most of our other food security work comes out of our basic needs program. So at Keystone, basic needs is about two things: food, and also connection to resources. So that looks, as I said, a few different ways, trying to reach people in the way that works best for them. So we previously had 2 St. Paul food shelves. We moved into a new building, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is our community food center. So that's our food shelf. We have a mobile program, which includes 2 food mobiles. So those are food shelves on wheels, just like the library has a bookmobile. We have food mobiles. So they're equipped with a generator that has a fridge and a freezer. We bring all the same items that you would get at the food shelf out to community locations that people can walk to or reach easily. We have a delivery program. I know Angie mentioned Hallie does as well. So the people on our delivery program are the people with the most barriers to access. So maybe they can't physically carry groceries to their home, even if a food mobile stop was close to them. So we have volunteer drivers primarily who take food shelf items to their homes once a month. And then we also use DoorDash to supplement when we don't have enough volunteers. We do free farmers market events as well. So those are June through October. They are large drive-through events. You may have seen us at Allianz Field maybe once or twice. So we go there. We go to the Rice and Arlington batting cages in the north end, and then a church in Roseville. And so we have volunteers load up fresh fruits and veggies and throw it in people's cars as they go through. And that is a model that we developed during COVID times, and it seemed to be the most efficient way to get a lot of people through in the morning. So that's how we kept doing it. And then finally, we have community support services out of our basic needs program. So when people come to us looking for food, that's often not the only thing they need. And so we have a couple of staff who help them. We can help people apply for SNAP benefits. And then we can also help people access financial assistance for things like past due rent balance, moving expenses, car repairs, kind of a one-time need. And then we connect people to all kinds of other resources as best we can. So we try and draw on the experience from all those different programs at Keystone to know what resources are out there and how to connect people to them. So take a minute, look at this graph because I worked really hard on it. But this is over the past 4 years. What you've got here with these blue bars, the big blue bars, those are visits. So those are how many times someone is coming to us. So people can visit our food shelf or food mobile once a month, and then 4 extra times during the year if there's ever a month they needed to come twice. So you'll see that in 2023, there were over 51,000 visits to our food programs. So that's putting together the 2 food shelves, the 2 food mobiles, and grocery delivery. 51,000 visits. So if one household came every month, that's 12 visits. That makes sense. In 2021, that number was less than 20,000. So, of course, during COVID, a lot of people were aware of food insecurity as an issue. Actually, it's gotten a lot worse since that time in terms of the amount of people seeking assistance. Between 2022 and 2023, we've seen a 40% increase. So that's consistent with what Carissa mentioned in her report as well. Between 21 and 22, that was a 70% increase in visits. And then we've also noticed a lot of new people. So then the gray line you see there is the number of new enrollments. So those are people who are coming to Keystone for the first time, and many of them, they're coming to a food shelf for the first time. The orange line is how many individuals we served. So that tracks pretty well with the same kind of arc of the visits. Any questions? Well, we're doing questions at the end. Sorry. I'll wait on that. Okay. So the project we've been working on for about 5 years is Keystone's new community food center. Our 2 food shelves that we had for decades were very small and not in very good shape. So around 2019, Keystone started looking for a new property to have a bigger, better location for our food services. So what we ended up with is the former used hotel furniture store, if anyone knows where that is, on University, right in between Arby's and Wendy's. Corner, like the Fairview and University corner. So we bought that building and the transmission shop that was attached to it, and that has become our community food center. So we love it. It's wonderful. We just opened in January, so we're still getting used to it. There's still little things that are not finished in the building, but we are operating out of there now. So we have a big lobby so people can wait inside, which they couldn't before. We have a warehouse so we can store more food, stock more food, take advantage of large orders of things. We have a walk-in cooler and freezer, which we love. A garage for our vehicles, which is great because they've all had their catalytic converters stolen. We have space, a whole room for our volunteers, and then private space for our resource navigators to work with people on applications and other things. So we're we're almost done raising money for it, nearly $11 million. We're about 40,000 short at the moment. So we've had a lot of support from the community, from the state, from the city, and we're very glad to be in. Yeah. So who we serve at Keystone, that's a great question. A really diverse group of people. Last time we checked, there were 22 different primary languages spoken by our participants. So if you can picture like everyone, that's who comes to Keystone. 85% of the people we serve come from communities of color. So thinking back again to Carissa's presentation, that fits. 82% of the people we serve are from Ramsey County. So all over Ramsey County, and a growing number from other places too. And then we serve a low-income community. So 98% of the people we serve have incomes under 200% federal poverty level. So for context, for a single person, that's $29,000 a year. And for a family of four, that's $60,000 a year. So 200% is still just barely enough to get by. How we get our food was one thing that people ask sometimes. And it's similar at Keystone as it is with other food organizations, as in a little more complicated than you might think. So a lot of our food comes from Second Harvest. So they're the regional food bank. They're serving much of Minnesota. And that kind of goes into a few different buckets. So food we get for free is TFAP, which is through stands for the Emergency Food Assistance Program. There we go. So those are foods that are purchased by the USDA from American farmers or food producers and then donated to food banks. So we get TFAP for free. There are also things that manufacturers will donate to Second Harvest, and then Second Harvest allows us to get those for free. Then there are things we purchase at wholesale prices through Second Harvest. We get donations from the community, so from food drives, from individuals, from gardeners, all sorts of places. And then we sometimes buy food from other sources. So the food group is another food bank that offers some more of the culturally specific foods we like to have, as well as other items. And then right now we're working on a project where we are buying from a farmer, and we're working on a dairy farm as well. So that's a special project. And then food rescue. So food rescue are those items at the grocery store that are close to their expiration date, and the grocery store donates them. So that's about 30% of the food that we provide. Those are often like deli things, produce, really fresh items that don't have a long shelf life. So, sometimes people don't realize that we actually do have to pay for some of the food that we have at our food shelves. So, of course, we know the need is great and growing. So we're trying to provide more food to more tables. And we've got this great building now to operate and serve as the hub for all of our food operations. But someone's got to run that building. And so what it takes to serve all those folks is right now we have 11 staff in our basic needs department. We take about 30 volunteers a day to help us run. We couldn't do that without them. We spend about $1,500 a day on food. And we've got our 2 food mobiles that we, have all the operating costs and gas and all that for them. So our number one challenge right now is to have enough staff, food, and supplies to meet the need in the community. So that's what's going on with Keystone and food insecurity. My information's there, and I'll have my cards as well with me. So if anyone has questions after we do the group questions, I'm happy to talk with you then too. All right, I should go back. You're welcome. Thanks.
You guys are wonderful. I knew you would be. And just so you know, our children's garden here at Unity in the green space out there, we bring food to you too. So we get it from all over. This is our question and answer time, and Lisa Burke has got the wandering microphone that we ask you to use, and please put your mouth right next to it. And then Julie is back at the second computer. I understand we have 5 people on Zoom. So if Zoom folks would put their questions in the chat, then we can answer those as well. So we'll take questions from the floor. If you'll raise your hand.
This would be for everyone. Is there any systemic or legislative changes you would like to see happen that people could kind of root for or push for?
Yes. So actually Ramsey County is bringing to the legislature this year to actually allow SNAP participants to buy hot meals, especially those that are unstably housed, seniors, or disabled. So right now you can buy a cold rotisserie chicken, but if you're hungry, you'd have to bring it home and heat it up. And some people don't have working kitchens or they're living in a car. And so we're trying to push the legislature to support that. So we would love your support to email your legislature. We're going to Hunger Day on the Hill next Wednesday, a big group from Hunger Solutions. They actually, Hunger Solutions, which I think is in the PowerPoint, has like, they'll send email blasts when things are coming up and let you know about hunger related policy stuff to like even write form letters for you. But really that's talking to your legislatures. There's other stuff like trying to increase the minimum of SNAP for those who are disabled, because disabled people tend to pay a disabled tax, meaning that most of the stuff they need to buy is more expensive because they have special needs in lots of ways, whether it's specialized foods or other stuff. And then there's a couple other things that are going to the legislature this legislation session. You know, federally, I think mostly with SNAP as well, making sure WIC and SNAP don't get demolished. And then, you know, I don't think this year there's as much emergency food shelf support, because last year they did put 5 million extra. But when that trickles down to every food shelf in the entire state, it's not that much, especially as inflation, you have to pay for diapers and culturally appropriate food out of your cash donations and not necessarily get them for free from TFAP. So yes, get connected. I'd be happy to send out Hunger Solutions email blast webpage so that you can sign up. And they usually are really good at letting people know what stuff you should be talking about. The other thing I say is talk to your city council, talk to your county commissioner, talk to your legislator about anything. Just say, like, I know hunger is a really big issue. What are you doing about it? And it could be that simple. And then it will raise more awareness, because we like to ignore it. Housing instability is obvious because you see the encampments. Hunger is so hidden, and people don't want to talk about it. So hopefully I didn't go too long on that. Is there anything else?
Can you tell us the difference or similarities between SNAP and WIC?
So SNAP is food stamps, and that's for pretty much any household that might be under a certain income and qualify. WIC is traditionally known as women, infants, children, and it's for any caregiver or pregnant person and any children in the household under 5 if you are at a reduced income amount. The difference between SNAP and WIC is SNAP, pretty much everything at the grocery store except for hot prepared meals, you can purchase with your SNAP card. WIC is very prescribed, so you could have a certain amount of starches, so that might be corn tortillas and rice, and you have to buy certain specific things at the grocery store, or a certain amount of produce. So it's a specialized nutrition program where they do a lot more education, versus SNAP is kind of just go to the grocery store and use your card. Do you have anything else to add? Okay. Yeah, So it comes through two different areas. And I know that WIC, I'd have to look there was a lot of alerts going on that they were trying to slash WIC, but I think it might be funded again. That tends to come out of a different pocket than where SNAP comes from in the federal government.
SNAP is through the Farm Bill and WIC is a
Yeah.
separate bill and I don't know which one.
Yeah, SNAP goes through the Farm Bill. WIC is through,
Health and Human Services.
yeah, Health and Human Services.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's two different things.
Hi, this is a question for Keystone. You said your new place is open,
It
right?
is, yeah.
What are your hours, please?
Yeah, so our service hours right now are every day but Wednesday, so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 to 12 and 2 to 4. And then on Wednesdays from 4 to 7 p.m. We would love to expand those hours, but with the staff we have right now, that's what we're able to do.
This would be for me donating something.
Oh, sure. So donating, you can come from, I think, 8:30 to 4 o'clock. And we now have a separate entrance for donors. So you can just pull right into the parking lot and there's a door and you can just
Oh, how
get out.
pretty.
So it doesn't matter if the market is open or not. Donors can come during business hours,
And is that every day of the week or just?
Monday through Friday.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks.
Glad you're there.
I think this is also a Keystone question. I'd be interested in how the food mobiles work. You know, how are the sites chosen and stuff?
Yeah, great question. So we try to be strategic in what sites we go to because as you can imagine, we get a lot of requests. So there's a variety. So we go to some low income senior housing communities, so apartment buildings, high rises, et cetera. We go to a few churches that are just good community locations where people can walk to. We go to 2 different libraries, the Adult Education Center in Roseville. We go to 2 different colleges, and then some other community locations. Jeremiah program you mentioned, that's one of our sites too. Um, the geographic scope of where we go, of course, we could go anywhere. So we've tried to sort of stay in Keystone's traditional territory for those, which is basically west of 35E and north into Roseville. So we've also done some mapping to try and make sure that everywhere we're going is in a neighborhood with high food insecurity. And also we've looked at things like where do a lot of our food shelf participants live? Like, could we put a food mobile stop there rather than having them come to us? We can bring food to them. So those are some of the factors. We are working on getting a 3rd food mobile. So we're hoping to do that before the end of this year and be able to add more sites. Because right now we're pretty much fully booked. We're going to like 28 different locations every month. Oh, yeah, this is going to be hard to remember. So there's a couple. So we go to St.
Repeat the question for people.
Yeah, oh, sure.
online.
She asked what church is in Roseville. So we go to New Life Presbyterian on Larpenteur. We go to St. Michael's Lutheran, Roseville Church of Christ, and I think there's another one. It's all on our website. I don't know offhand of the days and times, but it's usually like a set day every month, like the 2nd Tuesday, that kind of thing. Yes, yeah. So people can get on the truck and shop just like they would at the food shelf.
I have a question for Hallie Q. Can you talk about the closet? I didn't know that was the thing. What do you accept? What don't you accept?
So we have our clothing closet and it's open Monday through Thursday from 1 o'clock to 4:30. It is volunteer based. We are hoping to have it open more often, but pretty much we accept all clothing. We have, I guess it's current season clothing that's gently used and clean. And then we just offer it to of our families. We accept donations every day. And we just go through the clothing. We have volunteers that our community people come in and use the take advantage of that. We have shoes, coats, clothes, everything that you can need. The only thing we don't have the capacity is for small appliances and household goods. It is right at Hallie Q. Brown, right here on 270 North Kent. We are open Monday through Thursday from 2 o'clock to 4:30. Correct.
I was wondering about, well, first of all, I wanted to say how wonderful it is that now St. Paul children have free lunch at school. And so, but I also thought I remembered, well, when my kids were growing up, and then also, is it true that school lunch is funded through the Federal Agricultural Department? And there's certain types of food that they serve. My question is, do you see any movement towards maybe getting local chefs to come in, or ways to improve the food that's in the school systems?
Yes, that's a great question. So yeah, universal school free meals statewide, which is really great. And I know that St. Paul, Roseville, and I want to look at Mariah because I think she might know too. Some of the other districts are really trying to do local purchasing. And then there's a lot of different programming going on where they are trying to get kids to try new foods. I think in the past, well, before COVID, I think it was like Local Thursday, and they would come in with new food and kind of have a celebration. You get stickers if you try new foods too. And so I believe that's all back up and running since COVID. I know a lot of things stopped for a while to try to get more local purchasing for sure. Yeah, so I think some of the issues with that was that, like, if you're, you don't have enough carrots to bring. So there's a lot of hub organizations like the Good Acre who actually will make sure there's enough to serve the school district and bring a whole bunch of like farmers together to do like a kind of a food hub. But they are allowed to do that. I know the St. Paul nutrition director is pretty pushing it, like pretty excited about farm to school. Some of the large districts that aren't farm-based, like I think Carver County might do a pretty intensive job, but they're their neighbors, and it's a smaller district. Where St. Paul, you have to serve the same thing for every child. And so it's a little bit more hoops to jump through.
If I could just add a little note here, next month we have Land Stewardship Project and the Good Acre coming to talk to us. And Land Stewardship has many projects, but one of them is to foster these farm to school programs. And when we lobby tomorrow, we're actually going to ask our legislators and senators here to please support that. So just so you know, that's what we're up to.
I think Julie has an online question.
From Daniel Philippon. If you could each do one thing to address the root causes of hunger in the US, what would you do?
I'll start talking and see if I come up with one thing. So I think, it's important to remember that food insecurity is not about food. It's an economic problem, right? It's about money. So I think reducing income disparities would be the main way to address food insecurity. How you do that, that's another question.
I think for me, it would be having these conversations. For so long, nobody brings it up. It's uncomfortable. We don't want to know because we don't have the solution. So I just think having the opportunity to bring it up and putting it out there, because like we said, hunger, you don't see it. It's something that we don't know if our neighbor is hungry or not unless they come and ask. So having the opportunity to have meetings like this where people can actually realize and process it and ask questions and learn about it, then that's one step closer to making sure that we do provide food for everybody.
I'm afraid of this one answer only. I think, more people growing locally, they're the food of choice, but also putting, this is two, but we'll say the food system in general. Also commodity food at the federal government is, they subsidize a lot of those really processed foods. And so how do we get it? So the stuff that's subsidized are the really healthy, less processed foods. There's a lot of money in marketing from these big corporations, and they know they can make a lot of money. I mean, who's making money off of inflation right now? But I'll get off my political.
Thank you. You mentioned Hallie Q. Brown, what they need. How about Keystone for donations that we simple people can bring?
Yeah. So a lot of things. So starting with the things that cost the least, we always need bags, paper bags, plastic bags, reusable bags, as long as they're clean and in good shape. We would much rather spend our food budget on food than on bags. So that's always a great thing to donate. All variety of non-perishable food items. So things like rice, flour, sugar, kind of those staples. Those are always wonderful to have. Cooking oil is really important. Dish soap, some like personal hygiene stuff like shampoo and conditioner and lotion and toothpaste. Those are things we often can't buy or are expensive for us to buy. So those are all great ideas. Canned tuna, peanut butter, canned chicken, things like that are also helpful. So yeah, I mean, everyone has different tastes, as Angie was saying, everyone has different tastes and needs. So some people might be very excited to find like some nice coffee or tea in our food shelf. And that's nothing we're going to buy for them. But we would love to have donations of those things or spices or your favorite hot sauce or whatever. So we're very open. We just can't take refrigerated or frozen items as donations. They have to be either non-perishable or fresh produce. We do not. So we don't do any clothing at Keystone. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I once had a big bag of rice because when I was shopping for rice, the only thing they had was 10 pounds. And I thought, I'm not going to go through this before it goes bad. Can you use a bag that's been opened?
No, good question. We cannot use anything that's been opened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I throw, oh. Well, it's a cultural preference. A lot of times rinsing rice has been shown to remove contaminants. But that's a hard answer, just depending on lots of different factors. I was gonna come back to what to donate as well is food shelves are able to buy discounted food. And it might, I don't want to say donate cash, but that is really where the power is to meet immediate community needs of what they're needing right as soon as possible. Okay, I'll say it. I mean, it feels good to buy groceries and bring it, but know that the food shelves can buy things cheaper, and then they can also meet the cultural needs of their community they're serving, more so than, if I donate mac and cheese, not a lot of cultures know how to, or community members know how to want mac and cheese, or, they won't eat it. So if you don't know other cultural foods, cash can be really helpful. Money, yeah, it is, and tax write-offs also helps when you donate cash too.
Yeah. I'll just echo that. I mean, as Carissa said, money goes a lot farther than stuff in terms of donations, and it's more flexible. So if one of our vehicles breaks down, we can get it fixed, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here at Unity, we do both. We donate cash, and we have a food drive every month.
Yep.
So you're not saying don't do the food drive.
No.
Not saying.
No, we appreciate both. No, you can bring me toilet paper too. Yep.
I'll just give a plug for our quilt group that when we are selling our quilts in April, we need everybody to consider buying one, because that's how we raise our money to give to our projects.
Well, this has truly been wonderful. The quilt group is a labor of love. I will also say that we've had a long relationship with Hallie Q. Brown. We have also requested that there be a plate collection for Keystone, which will happen somewhere in the next month or 2 or 3. So there will be an opportunity to open your wallets that way, and otherwise, go straight to them. So.
Can help. Yeah. So another thing about if you want to get involved and help, volunteer. We need volunteers every day doing all sorts of different jobs. So there are jobs for people who like people. There are jobs for people who don't like people. There are jobs for people who like to drive. There are jobs for people who like to sit. So I think I would say the same for you, Angie. Like, if you're interested, please consider volunteering. Doesn't have to be every week necessarily. It can be once a month. It can be when your schedule allows.
So, it's not going to work. So, I want to just say a few closing words. Is it frozen? You want to advance it, Heidi? Advance it. No, one more. Oop. No, go back. Yeah, okay. So at this moment, I want to express some gratitude. We hold in gratitude the gift of this hour in conversation with Carissa, Angie, and Julia for their vision, their perseverance, and their wisdom, and for the curiosity that helps us understand more deeply how we can help, what is required of us. We recognize that hunger has been with us always, but it is not inevitable. We are called to help feed families in the near term, so let us serve with humility. But let us not ignore the underlying systems that perpetuate hunger. This is a long fight, a long haul for justice and dignity. Frances Moore LePay's message was one of hope. One person she worked with extensively before his death was Harry Chapin, who she held up as a model for what an individual could do. Between songs, he told stories about needless hunger. He believed in the power of even a minority of one to do the impossible. Therefore, let us not question our ability as individuals to make a difference. Rather, let us start with strengths we have and use these to build the relationships that ground us in relation with each other, to farmers, to the land, to the ecosystems which sustain us and all beings. Amen.